events here at Buchser Middle School. 5th grade parent night, thank you all so much for being here. I am Justin Ponzo, and I am the principal of this school, and I'm so incredibly proud to be a Buchser Bobcat. I want to take a quick moment and say that we also have translation. Miss Michelle Tapia will be helping us out as well. She's one of our fantastic Spanish students. Additionally, I want to take a moment to introduce my team as well. We have Ms. Danielle Ash, one of our vice principals, and we have Mr. Gilbert Montiel, one of our vice principals as well. We are so glad that you are all here. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time listening to me because we know that you are very interested in what our staff has to offer and what your students will be experiencing next year. But I did want to take a quick moment before we continue with this to introduce our wonderful PTSA president, Ms. Nicole Darabi, to say a few words as well.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to Buchser. We are so happy to see you guys and to welcome you for next year, the incoming school year. PTSA at Buchser is a great way for you as families to get involved with our school, especially the volunteering opportunities change when you go from elementary to middle school. So we do have a table out by the office whenever you go to the classrooms. Please come and stop by and see us. Sorry, I just came running in from another meeting. And coming up in April, we have a training that the Santa Clara Police Department is going to be putting on for us specifically at Buchser regarding internet safety and gaming. So if you come by and stop at the table, sign up, we'd be happy to send out the invitation for you. So come by, say hi, any questions you have, just let us know. And welcome and enjoy tonight at Buchser.
Thank you so much. One of the things that I'm sure you noticed around our campus is that we have our slogan, Together We Roar, where we expect all students to be responsible, open-minded, academic, and reflective. You will hear that consistently. We want to reward our students for all the wonderful things that they do, and we want to make sure that we are consistently making sure that they know that we have high expectations for all of them. Without any further ado, I am going to hand it over to Dr. Van Horn. She is our 6th grade counselor, who is going to begin with the rest of the presentation. So thank you all. We will be around here all night to help answer any questions you may have as well. Thank you.
I actually am the first person that your students will probably meet in transitioning them over to Buchser Middle School. And I'm very excited to say this. I have been in district 18 years. My daughter is 10. And for the first time, I have been in this position. I've been in this position 11 years as a school counselor. I actually get to say this. I am in your shoes now. I have waited 11 years to say that because I now have a 5th grader. And she's also going to transition to middle school as well, and I'm actually going to attend her district's family parent night next week. And so I'm sitting there thinking, I do this for a living, but I'm scared out of my mind because now I'm in your shoes. And I want you to know that it's going to be okay. How many of you is your first middle schooler? Okay, so you're like me. It's like, what is going to happen? Middle school is just one of those times. Their brains are growing. They're literally just walking emotions and feelings, and they have to learn stuff too. So there's a lot going on. It's a big period of growth. It's grade 6, 7, and 8 versus elementary was what, K through 5. And then you got high school, or high school is just a different beast, and I don't know about that far. So it's a lot of rapid growth. And it's kind of scary. They're coming from a feeder school, they're smaller, they're now going to be kind of put in the mix, and they're back at the bottom, right, 6th graders, but it's not that scary. The number one thing I get from parents who say, well, are the 8th graders kind of scary? No, they were 6th graders once too. And part of our Buchser philosophy is to do a school within a school. And so we're very aware that they're coming from a small feeder school where they normally have 1 or 2 teachers, they kind of have their main teacher, they have their desk. So instead of having the traditional 6 teachers and 6 periods, they still have the 6 periods, but they pretty much only have 3 teachers. And so when you go around today, and I'll explain kind of why you all got your colored packets, is you're going to kind of have a mock day of what a 6th grader is going to do. you're going to go to your periods and you're actually going to meet all of the teachers. All the 6th grade teachers are here on campus. They're the ones that are going to present the stuff you want to hear. I will talk about it, I promise. And it's nice because instead of getting to know 6 different teachers, 6 different styles, they only really have to learn 3 unless they're partaking in our wonderful band orchestra that know how to instrument team. And so you have a core team of teachers. And they also travel together. So we're used to that 7th, 8th grade model where it's on your own, go to your class by yourself. In 6th grade, they travel as a pod, which we're actually going to do tonight. We will be traveling as a pod. It's actually based on the color of your paper. And Buchser were very aware that this is a time of social growth. Yeah, we have to learn stuff like that, all that stuff. But it's also a time to meet new friends. Kind of relationships change, get to know yourself. And of course that word, but I know 5th graders who learn puberty, occurs as well. So it's a big time of growth, and we have a very strong counseling department, a wellness center, and our teachers are very well versed in kind of the social emotional learning that they integrate into their classes as well. Next slide, please. So here's a typical day. The slides now start to match. I didn't put all of it. I wanted to save poetry, so I took all the introduction slides out, but they should start to match your presentation, and I have it in both English and Spanish. And this is a typical 6th grade day. This is based on this year's master calendar and planning. And like I mentioned, students travel as a pod that you will kind of mimic tonight. We also have lunches separate. So 6th graders get the whole campus to themselves with lunch at lunch. So 7th, 8th graders are on their own. They have to share. But not 6th graders. They are separate and get their own lunch in their own space. And the only exception kind of in here is we do have an Explore PE model if your child chooses not to participate in dance or orchestra. And then we also have our built-in EL and support classes as well. But as you can see, we pretty much have your typical Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday schedule. And then on Wednesday, we're early out, so we're out at 1:35. We do have a few early out Thursdays, and those are kind of scattered throughout the school year. So teaming, you're going to hear tonight a lot of the teachers say, hi, I'm Miss So-and-so, I am on the Sharks team. And all that means is when they identify themselves as a group, which is Sharks, Griffins, Bulldogs, and Pandas, it has to do with a team of teachers. And so I mentioned they pretty much have the same, you have the core 3, they're on a certain team. And for me, selfishly, it's for my planning purpose. So when a student says, oh, hey, my schedule changed. I'll go, what team are you on? And I'll say Sharp. I'll know exactly the 3 teachers. Versus I'm sitting there like, I don't know my teachers yet. But they know they're Sharp. They know their team name. It also is a Buchser philosophy we do teaming, especially in 6th grade, because it has to do with working together and collaboration. So all the 6th grade teachers have been here quite a long time. I want to say it's been a very, very strong team, and I'm very lucky to work with them. They work together in a team collaboratively. We also have grade level. 7th and 8th grade also work. And we have department, so we have teachers that run in math, and in the math department, they work kind of cross-over with all the different other teachers. And then we have some very focused collaborations. For example, I'm on one that's for parent engagement and community involvement, so this is nice to see all the families here. We also have Buchser YMCA after school, Miss Stacy Nguyen. So if this is something you're interested, she is here on campus. She's right there. Miss Stacy. She is here. She also provides an excellent program. They have a portable that is kind of in the back, so if you're interested and want to talk to her and check her out and get more information, she will be here as well. And then also, I think PTA, we also set up a table for them outside the main office. If you'd like to check them out, they're also out there as well. FAQ, this is attached to the flyer that I think your feeder school pushed out. It just tells kind of our most frequently asked questions, and so that's attached in our presentation. Tomorrow morning, I will push out this presentation to your feeder school, so you can also have kind of a live chat, because there are some live links on here as well. And last, there's also a QR code. So I have this QR code everywhere, because sometimes there's questions you have, and you're like, oh shoot, I just thought of this, or I'm thinking of it in the middle, and the teacher's talking. Go ahead and fill out this QR code. It is linked to me, and so I'll get all of your questions, and I will go ahead and try to figure out the best person to address that question. If you think of anything at all tonight. So I just did the QR code. So tonight's event, all right, I have to make sure because we're on a bell schedule. All right, I got 6 minutes. So if you look at your sheet, it's either blue, green, pink, or yellow, and I have provided you 4 periods. And if you look at the periods, you have period 1. If you go all the way to the, what's that, my right hand? Right hand? Right side, you're going to go and see the first period you need to report to. And then I will make an announcement, like, okay, everybody, it's time to go to the second period, and then you'll go to the second period. Now, because we're in middle school, we're going to get lost. My lovely web leaders, they are in, stand up. I have web leaders, and my web leaders are in red, and you'll hear more about this program in one of your periods. These are 8th grade students who actually run the 6th grade orientation themselves. Because 6th graders don't want to listen. They don't want to talk, hear the adult talk about middle school. I did it a long time ago. They want to hear from our 8th graders. And it's actually really, really nice because I come into 6th graders and they get there, they're a little scared of the 8th graders. Not really, because they're running the whole orientation. So they're actually already meeting a lot of 8th graders, which is awesome. We do a lot of events throughout the school year with our 6th and 8th graders together. So these lovely 3 will actually be assigned to a classroom. Follow them. They know where they're going. So you 3, I'll go ahead and dismiss you to the classes you need to go to for your first period. So you can meet your group there. So you're good. And at this moment in time, I'm going to give you a head start. Because first period doesn't technically start till 6:35. So I'm going to say, Steve, Miss Nguyen, do you want to say a couple words about the flag?
Sure.
Okay. And I'll dismiss them at 6:30.
Hi, so I've been here like 10 plus years. But we have a portable located in the back towards the tennis court and back parking lot next to the track, next to the River Auxiliary Gym. We're the middle portable, come check me. I can answer all your questions there. But basically, we're located on campus. We're a grant-funded program. If you call it out for free reduced lunch, the program is completely free for you. We're open every single day that school is in session. So please come check us out. I can answer all your questions then. Okay.
Also on the back of your packet, just in case I know those lawyers worry about getting lost, there is a map that I did attach for you as well. Space for notes if you need a pencil or a writing pen on that side. But I think at this time, I will go ahead and kind of instruct you on where to go. So if you are a yellow team, I think it's you. Oh, my teacher, my old teacher is coming out. You're going to be in the
Y también la tienen ustedes en el paquete y está en inglés y en español. ¿Tienen preguntas? Por favor, déjenme saber. No, not this time, so they have to okay.
There's seats here if you'd like to sit down. There's seats right now. Good evening. My name is Celia Biggs, and I teach math and reading, PE, and Explore on the Griffin team, and I've been at Buchser for 27 years.
Good evening, my name is Caitlin Mahoney. I'm the younger teacher here. I've only been at Buchser for 20 years. I teach math, reading, PE, and Explore. And I really enjoy being part of the Buchser community, but I find the 6th grade team to be my Buchser family, and we collaborate and we're friends, and I feel very fortunate to be part of the 6th grade team.
So when we say family, we really mean it. When I looked at your faces, I think it was just like yesterday, but it really wasn't. That I was sitting in your seats, trying to figure out where my child was going to go to middle school. And my child went through Buchser, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. My child is now a rising senior at Mission Early College High School. So that should tell you how much we believe in Buchser, that several children have gone through Buchser and have been very, very successful. So that's how much faith I have in my other teachers. So today, Caitlin and I thought that we would talk to you a little bit about similarities and differences at Buchser for math. So the similarities that you're going to see is that the state of California has dictated that we are every sixth grader is going to have access to the following units. So those are ratio and proportion relationships, which are my favorite. The number systems, which have to do with fractions and multiplying and dividing fractions. Also fractions, decimals, and percents conversion. Expressions and equations, which we're currently working on right now. Geometry has to do with surface area, volume, and then statistics and probability. Those are the areas that we're going to cover in their sixth grade year. And we're going to do that with the approved book. This is the book that's approved by our district that all middle schools use. It's a volume 1 and a volume 2. So a lot of material. But the good news is that it's also online. So your children can access it at home, so they don't have to take the books to and from. So that's the good news. And then we all will use a pacing guide. Every single middle school will use the same pacing guide, sixth grade. Caitlin and I will be taking a day off next week to go work with all the outer middle school teachers to revise that pacing guide for next year. And it will be approved by the district and we'll all use it. And then the supplemental curriculum. One of those things is called Desmos. It's an automated program that the kids access through their Chromebook. And it's an amazing program because it allows them to see their answers in real time. So if they put in an answer, then they get to see, oh my gosh, that's way too big and this is what it looks like. Or that's way too small and this is what it looks like. So they get to really experiment with that in kind of a 3D model effect. So I really like Desmos. And then Mars tasks, which are math assessment resource service. Those are performance-based assessments that we will use throughout the whole district. And then I know your favorites, a lot of you coming from 5th grade, iReady. Oh yeah, you get to use iReady again.
Yeah, get it again.
Yeah, so those are some of the similarities that you're going to see at all middle schools. And then I would like to talk a little bit about what differences you're going to see at Buchser. So one of the things you're going to see is that we, as a 6th grade and as a school, came up with an objective. And so we really believe that students need to provide evidence of their thinking, both verbally and in writing. So what does that look like? We have academic vocabulary routines that we have from day 1. So on day 1, we'll have students have conversations with each other and stand up and present. So in math class, students will come in, they'll have whiteboards and markers, probably put up a open-ended problem. You'll work on that for a few minutes on your own. Then I will say, if you look at the desk, you'll see A and B. On the desk, I'll say, A partner, turn to your B partner and tell them your thinking and what your answer is. And they'll do that. And then I'll switch it around and I'll say, B partner, tell your A partner. And they'll talk for a few minutes and then I'll say, okay. And I normally will call out a color. I'll say, greens, stand up, greens, and they'll stand up. And then the student will be able to present their thinking or their partner's thinking. And they'll do it in a format that we use here. You'll see this in every single 6th grade classroom. And they'll use academic vocabulary to explain their thinking. We are mathematicians, so we use academic vocabulary. And as we start to talk as mathematicians, then it transfers to the writing of being a mathematician. So we have math talk routines that we use on a daily basis. And we ask them to justify their thinking. We use complete sentences. So what does that look like? Your child might come home and say, you say, do you have homework? Yeah, I have 5 problems in math. And you're like, 5? And yes, but you know what? It is a much more deep thinking. You have to think about the problem. You have to decide, and you have to show that you're right. How do you justify that your answer is correct? You really need to think about that. And it needs to be in writing. So we do a lot of writing and speaking in math. Some of the things we also do is group work, which requires them to have a conversation with, could be groups of 2 or 4 and solve a problem. We have them work on individual projects. One of the projects is up on the wall, there and there. It's a ratio project, so instead of just solving a ratio problem, they had to show me ratios, draw a picture of a ratio, give it to me in writing, show it to me in numbers. What would it look like outside in the real world? Where would you apply that at? So these are much more bigger issues than just, okay, tell me what a ratio is, or write down or solve this problem. And then performance tasks, where students will take a whole task and they'll break it down into so many parts and then write the answers. So we really believe that it's important for students to use both writing and verbally in math on a daily basis.
The reason why we went to this structure is that we found often in our math classes that students would just get an answer, but they wouldn't know what that number represented or what it meant to the problem. They couldn't explain that part. So that's why we decided to add this important part of verbally talking about how they got their answer and justifying why it is correct, and then transitioning it to their writing as well. And so we believe and have seen that it has caused our students to have a better understanding and number sense being able to do this routine. At Buchser, we really start the year in 6th grade with students coming from many different backgrounds in math. Some love math, and some say, I'm not good at math, or I don't like math. And so we really stress how important it is that in all of our math classes that everyone has a growth mindset, that we are all going to make mistakes, and that's part of the learning process. And us as learners need to persevere and challenge ourselves so that when we do not understand a concept or make a mistake, that we keep working on it until we understand it and can learn on it. Mistakes are a positive thing, they're not a negative thing. We are all going to be making them, and so that is something that we really try to set in our math classes and in the environment, that it is just part of the learning process. And our brains actually grow more when we challenge them, and that when we make those types of mistakes, than if we just do things that are easy and not challenging to us.
All right. This should be Buchser families. It is the end of third period. This is your
Ya que vamos aquí cerquitas, nomás quería decir que uno de los puntos esenciales es que en matemáticas no solamente es resolver problemas, sino hablar y poder escribir usando el vocabulario académico. O sea, van a tener que escribir cómo fue que resolví este problema, cómo es que lo puedo aplicar en la vida real, y tener una mente positiva de que en las matemáticas se hacen errores y de ahí.
I'm Miss King. This is my classroom. Myself and Mr. Slawinski are going to talk to you about second period. So you don't go quite in the order of the periods your child will have next year. So second period is a PE. So am I stopping so you can transition?
No.
Okay. PE Explore and Electives class in 6th grade. And it is every other day. So every other day they have PE, and every other day they have an elective. So some of the possible classes that your child will have in Explore are listed here. So we do art, we do SEL, so socio-emotional learning. We use a program called Second Step that goes through all of these different lessons to kind of teach students about what's it like to be a 6th grader, and then all of the changes and what the brain is doing, and how to basically work with managing relationships, because those are a big part of the middle school. And then we do projects that we connect with social studies classes. There's also other logic games, STEAM, and readers theater. And it's the teacher's discretion what they cover. Usually teams cover the same things. So my teaching partner is Mrs. Mahoney, who you'll meet later. And so we share the pandas. And so I will, on one day, have Explore, and she'll have it on a separate day, and we do PE on the opposite. So, but we always plan together, the team teachers plan together, so your child, whether they're in her homeroom or mine, you will get the same Explore lessons with the teacher. You wanna go next one?
What is Rita's Theater?
So Reader's Theater is kind of like a mini play without the props, yeah. Now the other option is, instead of Explorer, your child could be in band or orchestra. So it's one or the other, so they'll all have PE. So for my classes, A Day, which was today, they have PE, and then on B Day, which will be tomorrow, we'll do an Explore lesson. Now, if they choose to do band or orchestra, they would do that in place of Explore. And they don't have to come in playing an instrument. So they can decide next year, oh yeah, or actually they send out information over the summer. If you have an interest in it, your child can still decide when we come back in August, but they do send out information in the summer so that if you're deciding ahead of time, you can let them know, oh yes, my child would like to do band or orchestra instead of Explore.
Can I answer?
Yeah, sure.
So this, every day they have, for example, a band,
Every other day.
every other,
Yes.
and what's gonna be the other day?
So PE is the other day.
Oh, okay,
So that's unique to sixth grade.
yeah,
So in seventh, they have PE every day, and then they'll have band or their elective every day.
okay.
Yeah. Is this you or me? Me again? Okay, so this is what I was talking about with the A Day, B Day, and we always have it posted in the classroom. I also have like an A, B over there, I move that arrow. And once the students get used to the system, within a couple of weeks, they understand it only affects this class, second period. That's the only thing it affects. Everything else, their schedule stays the same. So if they have first period language arts, that's their first period for the entire year. So the second period, A Day, B Day only affects whether they have Explore one day or PE, or band or orchestra or PE. And so that can be a little bit confusing, but we definitely go over it in great detail when the students arrive, and also at back to school night at the beginning of next year.
Okay.
Your turn.
Alrighty. Now we're going to go on to physical education, otherwise known as PE. We follow the 4 objectives here at Buchser for 6th grade, and they are safety, good sportsmanship, exercising. We want to get them moving and having fun. We incorporate all of those objectives in all of the activities and units that you see up there. Those are just a few of some of the activities and units that we will be working on. The one I do want to point out is the Bobcat Mile. The Bobcat Mile is, we run it on Townsend Field over here, and it equates to 5 times around the track. It's done every other week because, as Ms. King said, depending on what day, A Day or B Day, your child has PE, that's when they will be doing PE. It's done every other week, so basically twice a month is the Bobcat Mile for that. In addition to that, as stated at the bottom there, in 6th grade, Ed Code requires that all students have 200 minutes of PE. And we here at Buchser actually exceed that. We have 250 minutes of PE. So we are well in compliance for Ed Code for our PE program. As far as uniforms are worn in 7th and 8th grade for PE, but not for 6th grade. The one thing that we just do is we encourage students to wear the appropriate footwear to be able to run, jog, walk backwards, all of that, all the things that you'll be doing during PE, and as well as comfortable clothing on the days that you will be having PE as well. All right, the next thing is we have lots of clubs and after-school activities.
We have a question?
Yes. I thought we were saying questions.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Last slide, hockey, is that field hockey?
No, it's just hockey on like the basketball courts. We don't have an actual court for field hockey.
Yeah, it's like street hockey with
Yeah.
little pucks or the balls, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think, we can discuss for the next group.
Okay, sure. But we have many clubs and after-school activities here at Buchser. If you look at the top there, those are the current clubs that we offer. In addition, we have a world club, an art club, and a theater club that probably will be coming out within the next month or so. We have homework clubs, which are generally run by the teachers themselves in most cases. Lunch Bunch is run by Dr. Van Horn. She is our 6th grade counselor. After school sports, YMCA. WEB, which stands for Where Every Bobcat Belongs, because the books are Bobcats. ASB is the Associated Student Body, otherwise known as the Student Council. And GAINS, which is girls achieving in non-traditional subjects. Generally, if a club is to begin, there will be announcements in the morning, and it may even be posted on the website. So those are the two places from your child or from the website to find out whether these clubs or when these clubs are going to begin. But those are the clubs that we have presently right now here at Buchser.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Do you have any club that is run by students, for example, 7th grade, 8th grade, or all of them are with the teachers, the adults, I mean?
Well, so a teacher has to lead it. Now, students can lead it, but they have to have a teacher sponsor. So no matter what, there has to be a teacher there with them. Yeah.
I could give, so I'm the World Club advisor, and my students, there's like a president and a vice president, secretary, treasurer. They run the whole thing. I just kind of overview and make sure they're following, supervise and make sure they're following regulations. And any student can start a club as long as, how Kenneth mentioned, they need to find a teacher advisor.
Okay. Do you have anything about coding, those stuff, the computer?
There's a tech challenge, but if the student is interested, they can start the club and just have someone advise them.
Okay, and like I said, listen out for, talk to your children about it. Again, typically they are announced during the morning announcements or on the website itself. Okay. And then finally, we're going to move into the Wellness Center. We have a Wellness Center here at Buchser. It's run by John Schaefer. He is our wellness coordinator. And the goal of the Wellness Center is to ensure that all Santa Clara Unified School District community members have access to resources and support for emotional and academic growth. All right, and they do that through the promotion of healthy living, which means, they deal with prevention, intervention, and treatment for any matters that may come up for them. Students have access to the Wellness Center, but families do as well. So if you feel that your child needs to go to the Wellness Center for some reason, families are also invited as well to participate in that process as well. I also spoke with Mr. Schaefer myself, and he said, if you have any further questions about wellness and what it is and what it entails, feel free to contact him either by email or his telephone number, and he said he would be more than happy to work with you with that. And then lastly, we have just 3 student perspectives of the Wellness Center. I know I could speak for many, many people here at Buchser that the Wellness Center is an asset to not only Buchser, but the community here in Santa Clara. And that's my part.
Mm-hmm. So that's our spiel.
We do have a couple minutes if there are any additional questions in terms of PE or Explore
Hay
or
preguntas sobre la clase de educación física y Explore.
yes.
Yeah, about the homework. So do the students get homework to do at home, or?
That really depends on the teacher. That's not a question that I think we can answer. It will depend on the teacher, but that would be a good question for back to school night. But
Yeah,
it really,
teacher and subject.
yeah, it really depends.
Not in this class, not in the second period.
Yeah, there's no
No
homework for
homework in
PE
Explorer
or
or
Explorer.
PE. At least for us. I think in 7th and 8th, it's a little bit more entailed with what they have to do.
Yeah, but the 6th graders, so yeah, for the especially for English and math, especially for math, my question was
Yeah, and so that's why we broke it into these different,
different
so that
groups, yeah.
they'll be the experts for that.
Yeah.
We got a nice one. It's a pretty general one. There was something else I was going to bring up. you said, but I don't remember what it was.
For PE, my son actually loved swimming and he was to train before. So is there any arrangements that he can manage this? Because I didn't see it here.
For what?
Swimming.
High school.
Yeah, that would be high school, yeah.
We do have students that are on the team over at the International Swim Center, but not through Buchser. It's, you know, like a separate,
Is there any arrangements that we can join?
not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. You mean between the school and the center, the swim center? I just know I have students in my class that swim there, but I don't have any connection with it, and our PE program doesn't. And I know in 7th and 8th they don't either, because they just use the facilities that are at Buchser.
So what is the class name, sorry, that they use these facilities for the swimming, international?
Oh, International Swim Center, and I think there's a Santa Clara Swim Club. That's what his jacket says, yeah, SC.
Okay.
So, yes.
Does the school has any sports team, like?
Yes, we have after-school sports teams. We have soccer, volleyball, basketball, and track and field. And that's for both boys and girls.
Okay.
And all grade levels have
All
it.
grade level.
Yeah, depending on the sport,
All right,
some are
families,
separate
let's
and some are
begin the
mixed.
first
BC.
So
period.
I have just one quick question. So if every student, they get a chance to attend.
My name is Mrs. Fisher. This is, oh, hi, I'm Gail Fraser.
Hi, my name's Amy Harper.
And I'm Luella Moreno.
So we're going to be talking about language arts. This is kind of an overview. Each of us will talk a little bit about something different.
We have, 6th graders have a reading class and a language arts class, and the language arts class is mostly full writing. We do lots of kinds of writing in the language arts class. One kind of writing we do is narrative writing, story. And we learn about the story arc, which is a pattern that a lot of stories follow. And when students can understand that pattern, it gives them clues about what to look for when they read, how to predict when they read, how stories are organized, and it improves their writing too, because they know how stories work. Stop me if you want to tell anything.
Oh.
Okay. Sometimes the students will write a personal narrative, which is a story from their own experience, either a very short one or a long one. Fictional narratives, which are stories that they make up from their imagination, which are very fun. And even writing from different perspectives. So our writers will tell like a personal narrative, but from someone else's perspective. So they may pretend that they're the main character in a novel that we're reading and write as if they were that character.
So, para la clase de inglés está dividida en dos secciones. Está la clase de lectura, donde van a leer, y la clase de escritura. Para la escritura, el punto que se van a enfocar va a ser en la escritura narrativa, y los subpuntos de eso está localizado en el paquete.
So I'm going to talk about our evidence-based writing. And so what we're trying to do in 6th grade is get them prepared for later years by creating an environment where they are using evidence from text to support their claims, their thesis, their thinking. And so we do different types of evidence-based writing. We start with a response to literature. Our response to literature is going to be based off of one of their class novels that they read. Oftentimes students will be given a prompt by the teacher. What is the theme? What is the character trait? What's one that you were just saying you did?
First quarter, we read a novel and then wrote an essay about how the character changed throughout the course of the story.
So how does the character change? Students will then use evidence from the text to support their claim, their thesis. So they then bring in evidence, then they talk about what that evidence means. Our goal for 7th grade is to get them to the point where they can use reasoning to explain their evidence and how it supports their claim. We also work on argumentative writing and informational writing. Again, they're reading nonfiction text, articles, maybe their social studies book, and then they're talking about being able to create, for argument, they're actually creating, they're choosing a side, and they're going to argue that side and show how their evidence proves that they are correct. For informational writing, they're going to create a claim that's going to basically explain what the writing is all about that they've read. We find that evidence-based writing is something that helps them get to the point where they are in 7th grade, able to really just get better at explaining their thinking. So for our writing, we want them to be able to think and explain their thinking. We do a lot of academic vocabulary as well. So academic vocabulary, what we are finding is that the use of routines, where students are getting up and talking to each other about the academic vocabulary that we're using, helps them be better readers, better writers, and eventually be better thinkers. We find that the routines where they're getting up and every day having to use a sentence frame that uses vocabulary that they did not understand previously, and that they're speaking it. If you can't speak it, you can't write it. So we're getting them into this routine of talking to each other, and then from that, it translates to them writing about what they want. In addition, it really does help with testing, because academic vocabulary can stop someone from being able to write because they can't even understand the question. So we're teaching them how to understand the question so that they can then do the writing and thinking, do the work.
And we're talking about how these words are words you can take with you in your back pocket to science or math. Like the word compelling, you know, what is some compelling evidence to prove your thesis in science as you're looking through the microscope or something like that. So they're words that kind of transfer universally. So again, I'm Gail Brazier. I went to the dentist earlier. I feel my numbing being kind of wearing off, but if I sound a little strange, that's why. I'm going to talk a little bit about reading. And at Buchser, did you want me to pause and?
Yeah, you could go.
Okay. At Buchser, it's, the 6th graders have a separate reading class. In 7th grade, 8th grade, and all through high school, it's one class called Language Arts where they get writing and reading. But at Buchser, we're lucky enough to have 6th graders have a writing class and a separate reading class, which helps us to read all sorts of genres, fiction, nonfiction, articles, connect it to social studies.
That's unique to Buchser, like Cabrillo doesn't have that.
I believe I'm not sure which middle schools right now offer 6th grade as a separate reading, maybe 2 out of the 4. And it might be changing, there's some things happening with structuring, but this year.
Our hope is that it stays this way. We think it's really valuable.
But this year, we do have a separate reading class for our 6th graders. I learned last year at this presentation. Did you want to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, algo positivo es de que Buchser es una de las pocas escuelas que tienen una clase especialmente para la lectura, para poder leer, separada de la escritura. So, ya cuando estén en el 7º o 8º grado, la clase de inglés va a incorporar lectura y escritura. Aquí van a tener una clase dedicada a cada enfoque.
Thank you. We start off really with this idea of book, head, and heart, and how what we're reading in books is called our evidence, connecting it to writing. How what's happening in our head is our reasoning or our elaboration, and at the end, what we take to heart, what we feel in our heart about a story can really connect us to the theme or a character or the world in itself. We do iReady. I learned last year that our 5th graders do iReady at school, and they weren't very happy to hear that we continue it in middle school. However, I do want to say that at the semester we had our 2nd diagnostic, and our growth was amazing. So it's working. And so our English department did make a commitment to continue with that 45 minutes of iReady minutes per week. And we had a presenter from the iReady company come and present to us, and she sat with Ms. Caponcio and was bragging about our data, Buchser's data and our iReady. So it's working. We're going to continue it.
Muchos estudiantes se ponen tristes cuando se dan cuenta que también aquí tienen que ser iReady para inglés, pero este segundo semestre se han dado cuenta que han hecho un progreso inmenso, hasta un representante de la compañía vino y estaba alogando lo magnífico que han hecho los estudiantes y qué tanto crecimiento han hecho en el semestre.
Leer es poder.
Leer es poder.
Okay. So, here are some of the class novels that we get to choose from. There's a whole list though, these are just some of them. They're board approved class novels, and a couple of years ago we were able to adopt some class novels like Refugee and Ghost Boys and A Long Walk to Water that really bring in real life experiences of what's happening around the world and currently, and bringing in diversity as well. So my class just finished A Long Walk to Water, and we're doing some projects called one-pagers that was like this. I brought in some examples where the students had to create some symbols and then do some writing of some of the signposts that were used, and then write a reflection, not a summary, but more of a reflection. What did they learn from the book, from the characters? And one thing we learned was that the main character, who was a lost boy from South Sudan, grew up and gives back. So right now we linked it to a Water for South Sudan donations drive that all 6th grade reading classes are doing. So if you have any spare pennies and you want to contribute, we would gladly appreciate that. As a final project too, just to have students get a feel of what it's like to have to carry loads of water multiple times to a watering hole a day. I had them carry some of our emergency jug water through the OQUAD, and they enjoyed just that experience, a small taste of what it might really be like in real life.
Muchos de los libros de los que van a leer se basan en lo que está pasando en la vida real. Son libros con temas actuales. Entonces, un libro que acaban de leer en la clase de ella habla de lo difícil que es conseguir agua en países como Sudán, entonces el sur de Sudán. Entonces, los estudiantes hicieron una actividad para ver cómo es tener que cargar agua desde un lugar hasta sus casas o lugares.
Don't worry, I'm going to make it short, so make sure that you guys are going to get out on time. Alright, so hello, Ala Moraña. I'm a reading intervention teacher. I provide reading intervention instruction to students with IEP, and at times we also provided some support to our EL class and Ms. Hall's students. But the purpose of this reading intervention is to provide them intensive instruction in reading, addressing those prerequisite skills that they need to be successful in those general education classes. So we focus on, we have a small group intensive instruction focusing on decoding, fluency, and basic writing skills. While in our reading comprehension, we focus on a lot of text analysis and other strategies that will help them to do grade level work when they transition to their general education classes. And once we do our assessments, we see that the gap has narrowed a little bit and they have a good chance of being successful in those classes, then we exit them out. So we wanted to make sure that all our students will have that opportunity to have that instruction that will get them ready to be in those general ed classes.
So ella es la maestra que ayuda a los estudiantes con IEP 504 o los estudiantes que necesitan ayuda adicional en el inglés, y ella es lo que los ayuda a mover y poder transicionarse a una clase general con todos los otros estudiantes de su nivel.
That's how we've got for you guys. Wow, good timing.
Gracias, thank you so much.
So I'm going to be talking to you about science tonight. Middle school science looks a little different than when you went to school a few years ago. California adopted NGSS, which is Next Generation Science Standards. The biggest shift was going from 6th grade being earth science, 7th grade being life science, and 8th grade being physical science. They mixed it all up, and they said science more naturally overlaps. It shouldn't be taught in isolation. So in 6th grade, there is a large focus on life science and earth science. We start the year talking about what living things are, how to look at living things under a microscope. We start talking about cells, how cells build bigger organisms if they're multicellular, which is body systems. We get into some inheritance and reproduction, not the 5th grade body part talk, how it happens, but more of how genetic information is passed on, how traits are inherited. From there, we move into a conversation of genetics versus environment. So we start to kind of look at how are living things impacted by the earth around them. And we start to talk about those earth sciences. Then we can start looking at how thermal energy can impact that, how water cycle, weather, currents, all of those things happen on Earth, while kind of thinking about how are they impacting living things, how can living things impact that with kind of a human impact lens. So it really is not just Earth, not just life, it's a mix of both. NGSS also brought in this idea that it's not just memorizing facts, but we're really looking at collecting and analyzing data, developing and using models, looking for patterns that occur. Are there similarities? Are there differences? There's also a huge engineering component that goes into it. When we're developing and using models, we're developing and using microscopes. They're thinking about how would you engineer a microscope once you understand how it works. Engineering a cell, developing your own model, not just paper pencil. Sorry, I had my train of thought. So NGSS is really a nice way to kind of blend all of those sciences together, and that's our scope. One of the biggest changes that happens for students is they a lot of times think, yes, a lot of them, I finally get science five times a week or 1 hour a day. And there's this picture of middle school science projects. It's either an exploding volcano or it's building a solar system model. I feel like those are the two they kind of come in with. And while those things are wonderful and they might happen, science is a lot more challenging than students anticipate at first, because in science you are reading, you are writing, you are doing math. We are not just science. We are collecting and analyzing data. So you're going to be averaging, you're going to be doing all of these things that you've been learning about in a practical application. So some students think, oh, it's going to be so fun and every day is going to be hands-on and amazing, and then it's like, nope, you need to write a paragraph tonight. And they're like, whoa! So we do our best to make it engaging, but some students may find it a little bit more challenging than they anticipated. So we try to kind of manage. We both love science, do everything we can to make it hands-on, fun, and engaging. The entire science department does, but you may find that they're like, oh, it's a little bit harder than I thought. One of the main tools that we use as science teachers is an interactive notebook. This helps them stay organized. It keeps everything science kind of all in one place. I tell the students, we just started a new one in January, but it kind of turns into their own personalized version of a textbook, where everything that we're doing, they have kind of all of that information all in one place so that they know what they need. So you'll find next year, hers might look a little bit different than mine, but there will be an interactive notebook. We'll ask for you to send one in with your students.
Hi, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our social studies curriculum. So here at Buchser we use TCI, History Alive, the Ancient World. Students have a hard copy that they use in class, and they also have an online version they can use at home through their SCUSD portal. In 6th grade we study ancient civilizations. So we start the year learning about early hominids and how we transferred from being hunter-gatherers to farmer-herders. And then we start studying the rise of civilization in ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Kush. After that, we study the ancient civilizations of India and China, and we end the year learning about ancient Greece and Rome. During the year, students practice reading informational texts using both primary and secondary sources to gather and analyze information. Students participate in partner, group, and full class discussions. And we intermix both individual and group work while we do assignments like projects, posters, timelines, illustrations, and written responses.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about communication. There are several avenues of communication at Buchser.
First one being very important, the Aries Parent Portal. You can sign up for that on Buchser's website. There's a link that you can click onto. There's the website right there, Aries Parent Portal. And that is where you would input information about your student and yourself, as well as letter grades. You can see how they're doing in their classes, okay, what grades they are getting. Another thing is email, which is very important, and that is probably the best way to communicate with your teachers, because you can't really call them during the day. But there are oftentimes you can shoot us an email, we'll check it within 5 to 10 minutes, sometimes during our prep or between classes, and we'll shoot you a quick email back if it's possible. So that's a really good means of communication. Another one is the agenda. Everyone will get one at the beginning of the year, and they'll put their homework in it, and you can just check to see what homework they might have. Some teachers even put what they did during the day in that space. So that's a good thing to check with. And we try to make sure that they are keeping up with it, because students don't always do that. Even if there's no homework, I oftentimes will say, just write no homework so your parent knows you actually have no homework in that class, okay? So it keeps up with all the classes. The next thing is Google Classroom. I know you guys have heard of Google Classroom, I'm sure. The only thing different I think would be here is that each teacher has their own classroom. So it would be a math classroom, it would be a social science classroom. It would
You'll
be
see multiple
classrooms. You won't just see, you won't see one for the sharp team. Okay, it'll be each teacher. And in that is not where grades are going to be, but it's what assignments they have. And then on the stream in Google Classroom, oftentimes you'll see some posts from the teacher giving some announcement of some sort. Okay, but you won't see grades there. It's really just seeing what their assignments are and what announcement that teacher might have.
And
links
and stuff,
links
things
to
they might need.
projects, and I think that's all for that slide. Yeah. And once again, Aries Parent Portal for you to see their grades. Okay, and the next thing is Track the Cat. This is a 6th grade orientation that will be happening on August 8th. It's about a week before school starts. And this is just a great way for the incoming 6th graders to check out the campus, to get to know it, to feel secure, kind of even knowing where your classes are going to be. And it's run by some 8th graders who belong to a club here at Buchser. And that club is called WEB, okay, which stands for Web Where Every Bobcat Belongs. Okay? And they, along with the WEB teachers, put on this event. And this event is where the students come together in small groups, and they tour the campus, they participate in team building, getting to know each other activities, and they also get some advice from those 8th graders, I'm sure. All right? And then the one other thing is they can see some staff members that actually are there. You won't see all the staff members, but there will be some teachers there that they can meet as well. Okay? Now, one important thing is that the invitations will come out in probably early August via email. So if you are your student planning on coming, you want to make sure that your email is up to date. And you can update your email in that Aries Parent Portal. Okay? And also one other thing, that 8th grade web leaders, they keep up with those students during the year as well. They might have lunch with them. They might do some kind of SSR activity with them. So there's some contact throughout the year, not just that one day of orientation. Also, another thing the web leaders do, I think, is call the students to invite them to come back for that day. Okay, so save that date, August 8th.
Yeah. We can thank some of our web leaders.
Yeah, web leaders back there.
Around campus as well. Yay.
Thank you. They're helping you.
So, ellos son los líderes, entonces es muy importante que la primera semana de agosto, la última de julio, revisen el correo electrónico y que la escuela en la que están actualmente tenga el correo electrónico que ustedes tienen a mano, porque es donde van a recibir la invitación para que vengan a la orientación. Y les van a enseñar la escuela y también les van a dar su horario, para que ellos sepan qué clases van a tener, para que el primer día de clases ya estén preparados y sepan a qué lugar dirigirse a cada hora.